The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously stated, "The adage, 'You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with,' has undoubtedly been heard of." We examine the 7 kinds of individuals who can impede your advancement in Stoic philosophy today, as well as how to handle these difficult relationships as we examine this concept through a Stoic perspective. Wisdom, justice, bravery, moderation, and reason were all emphasized by the ancient Stoic philosophers as essential elements of a good life. Nevertheless, in order to live by these principles, the Stoics cautioned against or forbade certain kinds of individuals and actions. Otherwise, these factors could impair judgment and decision-making, deplete emotional reserves, or encourage haughtiness and a lack of self-control. It was contrary to the Stoic focus on humility and self-awareness, for example, to surround oneself solely with flatterers who inflated one's own significance. Constantly being around people who were always complaining sapped resilience and motivation for the inevitable difficult moments when one's moral fiber would be put to the test. Instead, Stoic principles taught that if one wanted to achieve integrity, honesty, and disciplined self-control, one should associate with and copy individuals who exhibited these traits. However, occasionally, avoiding surroundings and kinds that may be detrimental was just as important as concentrating inward. The one who flatters. The Stoics caution against flatterers who boost egos and shower praise on others nonstop. Their motives might not be entirely sincere, and excessive praise tends to elevate conceit over modesty. "It is better to trip with the feet than with the tongue," said Marcus Aurelius. Overconfidence makes it more difficult to accept responsibility, regulate emotions, or identify areas that want development. Instead of exaggerating their own significance, Stoics emphasize fairness, honesty, and self-control. The griever. Those who constantly moan would be avoided by Stoics, who view such people as depressing rather than encouraging. Rather of seeking meaning or making the most of circumstances, they usually draw attention to the bad aspects of the situation. Nor do complainers often take steps to resolve problems. Constant negativity and whining weaken the forbearance that Stoics must consistently muster in order to preserve virtue throughout hardship. We save energy and recall challenges when we steer clear of persistent problems, which makes us stronger. The hedonist. Stoics advise against hanging out exclusively with those who are seeking pleasure and leading opulent lives. Surrounded by abundant food, drink, money, and sexual activity, it becomes more difficult to practice moderation and self-control. Indulgence and quick fulfillment of appetites over long-term, meaningful endeavors that mold character obscure wisdom. Without pleasure as a crutch, it is also more difficult to deal with loss or disappointment. As such, Stoics warn against surroundings that are only focused on pursuing momentary pleasures, even if they are not strict ascetics. The brutally ambitious. Stoics warn against hanging out with those who crush others in order to move up the accomplishment ladder. Their narrow focus on their own interests undermines justice and the general good. They dispose of others after manipulating them for their own advantage and taking credit for group efforts without showing gratitude. Their portrayal of individuals as either rivals or valued removes empathy and connection. Instead of self-glorification, Stoics get significance from virtuous self-mastery, giving back to communities and acting morally. The untrustworthy. Stoics advise against forming close bonds with those who consistently lack moral character. Fundamental values like honesty and truth allow for both individual knowledge and social fairness as a whole. The integrity that keeps society intact is weakened when people consistently act dishonestly. It imposes a state of perpetual distrust that strains relationships and the peacefulness that the Stoics want. Moreover, lying prevents the kind of meaningful conversation that is necessary for learning and long-term wisdom. In the end, though they may overlook occasional transgressions, Stoics cherish genuine relationships too highly to put up with constant deceit. The passionately ideological. Stoics warn against blindly following a single ideology without taking context or change into reason. Beliefs that resemble unquestioning orthodoxy stifle objectivity, subtlety, and viewpoints that deviate from rigid doctrine. For Stoics to react to circumstances justly, adaptability is essential. Their intelligent reaction is limited by blind ideology. Zealotry also undermines the Stoics' focus on using reason to control emotions and behaviors in a morally upright manner. Extremist ideas breed bigotry, which erodes social compassion. Stoics, therefore, consider influences that rigidly adhere to one viewpoint to be incompatible with developing knowledge. The adversarial bully. Stoics advise against associating with those who exhibit cruelty, malice, or the desire to harm others who are weaker than themselves. The divine cosmic awareness that unites all people is held by Stoics. That is profoundly undermined by violent bullying, which attacks our shared dignity with unadulterated hatred and cruelty. Marcus Aurelius said, "We have the potential to live a wonderful life if we can develop the ability to not care about things that don't matter." Bullies who take great pleasure in the suffering of others are very different from Stoics who believe in universal justice and empathy. Sadly, certain situations foster this kind of bullying, which Stoics would refrain from engaging in while looking for opportunities to stop savage violence when they could. Draining your reservoir of emotional energy. Everybody has that friend, relative, or coworker who is always complaining and can't seem to find anything wrong. Stoicism encourages us to stop thinking about difficulties and instead concentrate on workable solutions. Reduce the amount of time you spend with people who are often complaining. Keep your distance psychologically when they vent, and focus the conversation on finding answers. To continue on the Stoic road of fortitude and virtue, take great care to protect your mental tranquility. Navigating stormy waters. Think of your life as a ship cruising peaceful waters until you come across the drama magnet, a maelstrom of disagreements, crises, and controversies. You may stay on course by practicing selective unavailability and reflective listening. Recall that contentment comes from living in the moment without worrying about tomorrow. Navigate your ship with composure, avoiding the whirlpools that might jeopardize your journey toward peace and personal development. Dulling your vibrant canvas. The naysayer dulls your colorful painting with constant doubt and criticism, just like gray paint does. Seek guidance or use positive confrontation to start productive talks instead of taking in their negativity. Keep in mind the words of Epictetus. We can listen twice as much as we speak because we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Sort useful feedback from irrelevant noise so that your canvas stays a work of art that you created yourself. Ultimately, the ancient Stoic thinkers emphasized the need to regularly practice reason, discipline, conscience, calm, virtue, wisdom, justice, bravery, and moderation. Stoics might concentrate on the elevation of others around them by moral word and deed, by avoiding individuals who can damage or subvert these ideals in harmful ways. Being vigilant is important, but so is making the consistent effort to live and lead lives of principle, no matter the circumstances.